The Guru is live.
Good morning. It's another great morning in real estate and time to make some money. And our topic today is roofs. The topic that nobody ever wants to talk about. We have that automatic assumption that the roof is a terrific thing. It covers the house and there's no problems with it. But guess what? There can be trouble lurking on the roof for closing your deal and putting money in your pocket. We're going to dismantle roofs. We're going to find out what's under the roof, what's happening with the roof, and how we can make sure it's not stopping you from putting money in your pocket and making your client the best client that is respecting you as ever before. All right, we're going to do this right after this.
So, Rod, how can a cup of coffee improve my career in real estate?
Well, one cup of coffee is how we start our mornings, and it's not a stranger in real estate. We have coffee with our clients all the time. Even bigger than that, we can sit down with one cup of coffee, talk about your goals, make your business bigger, and push you to heights that you can't even believe.
That's right. And I'll tell you, working for Rod and I, you can be pushed because he's a workhorse.
I love real estate, and I want to share my passion with building your career in real estate as soon as we can pour the next cup of coffee.
So how about a cup of coffee with us?
I look forward to having a cup of coffee with you and having a discussion of a career change as soon as possible.
Thank you. The Guru is back.
All right, we're talking roofs this morning. And why is it important to think about a roof? Because a roof can stop you from closing the deal. They can stop the seller or the buyer from closing the deal. It can be a whole problem that you don't want to have to deal with at the last minute. But first, let's get a sip of our coffee this morning. I hope you have a cup of coffee this morning and you're ready to build your business bigger than ever imagined. All right, types of roofs. There's a bunch of types of roof out there. You know, there's the standard tar roof. There's the flat roof. There's the shingle, composition. There's all kinds of roofs that are out there in the market, including the old-fashioned, there's a tarp on the roof, which is the telltale sign of bad things to come. If you show up and you've got a tarp on the roof, there are problems lurking. Nobody puts a tarp on their roof when there's nothing happening. Tarps go up on roofs when there's a leak. Tarps go up on roofs when there's problems lurking and actually happening. So if you got a tarp, you already know you're going to have to deal with something. And that something might be putting on a whole new roof. By the way, you can also put on things like partial roofs, half roofs, patches, fixes. There's all kinds of things. But what you need to do is you need to get a professional out there to start talking about what is the problem. So composition roofs, that's the standard roof you see a lot in the Northwest and across the country. Composition, that's that 3-tab roof, has the little sand granules on it. And you typically see this a lot in residential homes. In businesses, even in the Northwest, you might see flat roofs. And flat roofs have their own problems and things to go along with, but we're really not talking about flat roofs today. We're talking more about the residential roofs, which you don't really see the flat style roof in the Northwest. Although around the country, just to be clear, there are flat roofs for residential, no question. Now, tile roofs have went in and out of popularity, but tile roofs are very expensive to put on, but in comparison to how long they last, tile roofs can have a huge life. You can have a composition roof of a 20-year and a tile roof might go 50, 60 years. It can really go up there and if well maintained, I don't even know if there's a limit on the tiles. The tile roofs can just go an enormous amount of time. That doesn't mean they come without any maintenance. Roofs have maintenance. You've got to think about maintenance when it comes to the roof, no matter what's happening. There can be mold, but before the mold, you can have moss up there growing. You can have mildew on top of the roof. You can have all kinds of things going on in the roof that you might want to have a treatment. A roof professional come in and do a treatment to the roof to make sure that roof is sustainable for your client. And I don't care whether your client is selling the house or it's a buyer coming in. The seller might say to you, what do we care? Well, what you care is that the roof doesn't come up in an inspection and all of a sudden your deal goes south so rapidly that you can hardly believe it. And they're saying, well, I'll go ahead and buy your house as long as you put on a brand new roof. And a brand new roof can be a lot of money. I mean, a brand new roof can be $15,000 to $50,000. I mean, it can be a lot of money. It depends on how large the house is, how many gables the house has, how steep the gables are. There are a lot of factors. And of course, what type of product's being used? What if you are a natural shingle home where you have, the wooden shingles, or even the bigger ones, which are the shakes. I believe I have that right. The shingles and the shakes. The shingles are the thinner ones, and the shakes are the larger product of the shingle. A lot of times you go into the attic where the shakes or shingles are on top. They're on top of the roof, and you go in the attic. You can see daylight. That is normal. Don't let that shake you. You go in the attic, you can see daylight, typical, because that's how the product works. You can see daylight coming out of the edges here. That doesn't mean that there's going to be leaks. That is just how that design of roofing works. Where other designs have to have a complete seal, and they have to have the plywood put down, where shakes have runners, and the others don't. All right, getting into too much detail on shakes. Early in my life, I got to put on some shakes, and it's a hard job. I'm thankful that there are people out there doing it. All right, let me take a sip of my coffee here. All right, something you need to know. I hope you're not out there as a real estate professional and getting on top of roofs. However, I know that it does happen, but you should not be walking on tile or ceramic type of roofs. They're not meant to be simply walked on. There's a way to walk on them. There's particular shoes to walk on them. And there's structures to help you walk on them, which I doubt that you have. You're the real estate professional. Stay off the ceramic and tile roofs. They're not to be walked on. You can crack them. And once you crack them, repairing them is costly. Once they're cracked, you've got a leak. At that point, it's going to leak. It's ceramic, it's tile. You've cracked through it. My personal deal is I stay off all roofs. We simply look at them. We bring in inspectors. Then note, nearly everybody, has inspectors. They come in for a general house inspection. And they might take a general look at the roof. But they're not there to inspect the roof with great detail and granularity. That's not what they're there doing. They will take a quick peek at it. They'll take a look in the attic. They're looking for mold. They're looking for general structural imperfections that can easily be spotted. But if there are other roofing problems, you've got to get a roof professional out there. And the earlier you do it, the better. So you can close this deal, put money in your pocket, and help your client either move in or move on. Now, the next kind of roof I want to talk about is a metal roof. Metal roofs in some areas are crazy popular. Really, I have a metal roof on my home and on my garage, well, and on the barn. Metal roofs can be really popular in the country. They can be really popular in some areas, but then you have some areas that have HOAs that don't allow metal roofs. You have some ordinances that simply say there are no metal roofs in this area. So you've got to know before you start advising someone to put a metal roof on, is it allowed in that area? Now, metal roofs can be a long-term roof. Similar to the tile, these roofs can be 30 years, 40 years, long-term. But now, it is costly. Metal roofs are not cheap, particularly with the cost of metal now. They can be crazy expensive. So just be aware of that. There are particulars of how to put up a metal roof. Always get a professional when dealing with roofs. When it comes to banks, no matter what kind of roof you have, I don't care if it's composition or tile or metal. Rolled roofing, rolled roofing is another type of. We're not really covering it today, but rolled roofing is another type of roofing out there. You often see rolled roofing on sheds and things like that, not on a house. Although it is possible to have them on houses. So when it comes to banks generally want to know that the roof will last at least 5 years. And if there is an obvious problem that can be seen on the roof, the appraiser may say, we want a 5-year certificate on this roof or replace the roof. Now, this is something you can do in advance with your seller. With the seller, you can say, look, I've looked at your roof. I'm not sure about the roof. I'm not a roof expert, but it's not a new roof. Maybe they can tell you when the roof was put on, and maybe it's been 25, 30 years. So there could be issues with the life of that roof. So get a professional to come out. You may want to have the roof cleaned. You may want to have any damage to it pre-repaired, and a certificate of at least 5 years supplied by the person that is the professional in the roofing business. That will help you close this deal, because you can hand that over to the bank, to the lender, and say, look, we've got a 5-year certificate on this roof. And most will accept a 5-year certificate on the roof. You also have to know that the buyer, if you're dealing with the buyer already, are they interested in a 5-year certificate on the roof? Or are they going to push you even after you've done all this work? Are they going to push you to even put a new roof on it at that point? So sometimes it's better just to simply bite the bullet on it and go out and put a brand new roof on. It depends on the damage and the report coming from the roofing professional. Now, often the safest thing to do is to put on a similar type of roof to what it already has. But I know this is deep pockets. This is a difficult discussion. This is where you've got to rely upon your relationship that you have with the seller. If you're representing the seller in the situation, you're representing the homeowner. This is going to push your relationship hard, because the relationship that you've developed may not have ever had a conversation about the roof. And roofs are expensive. Maybe the people have only been there a few years, 5 years or something. They didn't expect to have to replace a roof. The equity in the house may not be able to support them leaving and replacing a roof. This makes a very difficult sale, because suddenly now you are tied up in a situation under contract, and there's a roof problem, and they don't have the money to repair the roof and take the equity from that house and buy their next house. This is something you need to calculate in advance. You need to spend some time with your homeowner and calculate it together to make sure those costs can be foreseeable and planned out. Don't get caught with not knowing. That is huge, huge trouble. All right, let's slow it down here just for a minute. Let me take another sip of coffee. Take a second and hit that like button. I love it when you hit the like button. Here we're only on a Tuesday. I'm asking you to hit the like button, and because it just makes my week. Hit that like button. Also, send me a comment. What do you do about roofs? Those that have been out there doing this business for years, let me know. What do you do when the roof is in bad condition and the seller doesn't want to repair it? What kind of addendums do you plan? What kind of conditional sales do you plan? Knowing that the house is going to fail. It's going to fail in an inspection. It's going to fail in an appraisal, and you have to do something about it. Let me know in the comment if you've run against these kind of problems. Let me know what you're doing and how you're handling this. Of course, questions and also comments to future shows. I would love that as well. So also take a second and follow us on social media. It makes my day for you to follow me on social media, as we are trying to build your business larger than ever imagined before. Also on YouTube, the special thing you can do on YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube, or you can go over to YouTube. There's a banner right down here. You can go over to our YouTube channel, because we're all over. You can watch our show on multiple social medias. But on YouTube, you can do something that you can't do on the others. That is, you can subscribe to the Guru members only events, where we take time to build your business. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but I want people in those events that are serious about building your business. That's what we want, are people that are serious about building your business. All right. So knowing that there are multiple different types of roofing systems, there are also things that can go on a roof. There are things that interact with the roofing system, and one of these things is solar. Solar is often tied into the roofing system itself. If your buyer, so two things here. Number one is, if your buyer is saying to you they want to put solar on the house, and let's just say it qualifies. It's got the southern facing or whatever you need for your area of the country. In our area, the hope is that you have a great southern facing, and so you get the morning and the evening sun. It's not just, east or west. It's that southern facing. So the solar interacts with the structural integrity and the beams. It's tied into the roofing system itself. So what you need is a roof that is actually good for a lot of years, because when the solar is put on there, it can't easily be taken off. Often the solar systems have to be professionally put on and off, and can be very costly. So if they're looking to put solar on, well, then you may have to be thinking about a new roof. If you're down, even if you can get a 5-year certificate, you may want to be thinking about a new roof, at least in the area that the solar panels are going on. Now, if you're the seller and you have solar panels on the roof, something that you have to be concerned about is that the buyers will be thinking about is, sure, you're promoting that you have solar on your home, and that is a wonderful asset. I love it. It lowers the cost of living in that home. It lowers the break even of living in your own home, and I love that. But if your roof has aged, You've got to be prepared. And you have to prepare your homeowner for this conversation. If the roof has aged, then the solar panel is sitting on top of, even if it's working terrific, it's sitting on top of an aged roof. And the buyer may be asking for that roof to be replaced. And now you not only have the cost of replacing the roof, but the lifting up and remounting the solar panels is an additional cost and can be thousands of dollars. So this is a conversation that you need to be having with your homeowner and, of course, your buyer as needed. All right, a little more coffee this morning. Always being aware of gables and hips to the roof and valleys. Valleys are where things can happen. If you see a buildup of stuff, leaves, needles, stuff on the roof in a valley, that area might be rotting. That area may have trouble. And while you don't go up there, you shouldn't be on top of the roof. You shouldn't be the one doing it. You certainly, if it's building up in an area, it should alert you to having someone take a look, because there's a drainage problem to that roof. There's a drainage problem, and there is potential issues going on in that area. On my roof, over top of the deck area, I have an area that doesn't want to drain so well, and the wind blows in that and circulates leaves and things and needles, and they gather up. And we will be in July, and that stuff is still sitting out there. And we'll have, one of the younger people go out, because I'm not getting on the roof, and they'll be scooping it off, and it'll be wet. And we'll be in July. It'll be 95 degrees outside. You think that everything is dry on top of a metal roof, and it'll be wet under that. It's amazing how it can hold the moisture even during the hottest of the weather. It can hold moisture underneath that, which is the problem I'm talking about. These kind of things that gather on roofs absolutely can become a problem. Now, going back over to flat roofs here real quick. As I said, today we're not really talking about flat roofs, and there's not a lot in the Northwest. There's not many flat roofs for homes. There are some. Around the country, of course, there are some areas, particularly in the southern states, that have flat roofs, and it simply makes sense. There's not a lot of rain up in the rainier areas where we have hipped roofs and steeper roofs because of snow. Because the steeper the roof, the more structural integrity they have for holding weight like snow. So flat roofs tend to not have that kind of structural integrity. And flat roofs are not preferred in Oregon or Washington, Montana, any of the northern states. They're just simply not a preferred style. That doesn't mean they don't exist. Particularly if you are doing commercial work, you will absolutely find some. There's no question. Okay. One more sip. I hope you're having a good time this morning as we are endeavoring to build your business bigger than ever before. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What kind of coffee do you sip in the morning? I've asked it before, and it's always a great conversation to find out what kind of coffee are you sipping. I'm sipping the Black Rifle Coffee Company coffee, and the style of coffee that I'm drinking this in the mornings is the Blackbeard's blend, which is the South American dark roast. I'm a huge coffee fan, and I just dearly love it. Okay, back over to our discussion on roofs. Roofs come in all kinds of fashions. I don't want you to be a roof professional, but you need to know something about roofs to alert your buyer or seller to keep the deal moving forward. When you look at the roof line, so you're looking at the roof line from a distance, and there's a dip in the roof line. The hip of the roof, that's the saddle area of the roof. If it's a sway back horse up there, if it's a sway back roof, you've got a problem. You have a serious problem that needs to be looked into, because roofs are not generally built to have dips in them. The hip line is built horizontal, and the structural integrity is incredibly based upon it all being done correctly. What you want to do is get the professional in there and say, why is this roof line dipping? What's going on? Now, A-frames, of course, the entire wall, nearly the entire wall of the building is a roof, which is fascinating. I love A-frames. They are just kind of a fun unit to be in. But, they are extremely steep. You're not going to be able to go up on them. It's going to take a professional to bring in rigging to go up on them, but they can hold snow a lot. The weight they can hold, because of how steep they are, they can hold on. It's important that if you're in an area that has a lot of snowfall, that has a lot of weight coming down on the roof itself, that the roof actually is steep. There's a reason for it. So when your client asks, does it really need to be that? Probably. There may be a direct reason for it, and it may be because of snowfall. The 412 pitch, which is a typical pitch out there. Good for a lot of residential areas, but not necessarily good for those kind of areas that get a lot of snowfall. Snow is heavy. It's incredibly heavy. And if you have it stacking up deep on you, you're going to have a lot of weight on the roof. And it's very dangerous to go up and do any kind of removal. I would never suggest anybody that is not a professional and has good rigging and the ability to go up there with harnesses to do any kind of snow removal. It's just not a smart thing to do. Okay, today we've been talking about roofs. We've been talking about how to protect your client, how to advise your buyer and your seller, because let me tell you, a roof will stop you from closing the deal. And my personal goal at Real Estate Daily and your Real Estate Guru is to make sure we are building your business bigger than ever imagined before. I will see you tomorrow.